Now. Book today at QatarAirways.com. Qatar Airways, going places together.
Here at Tesco, we're celebrating over 100 years of great value with even more great prices that take you back. Like a 280-gram Tesco stone-baked pepperoni pizza, now half price from £3.50 to just £1.75. All this week at Tesco.
Selected larger stores subject to availability. Offer ends 14th of January.
Let's send it over to Mike Santoli for the second installment of the Market Dashboard. Mike.
Morgan, duels and duets. Sometimes stocks and bonds move together. Sometimes they move in contrast. But here's the long-term look. 10 years of the S&P 500 against the TLT. That's long-term treasuries. Remember, this line is the price of that ETF, so the price of bonds, which means when it's going up, yields are going down. So what you see here, obviously, is most of your money in bonds was made by 2013, but they've done their job since, which means on pullbacks in stocks, they have held their value. They've been a buffer in portfolios. What I also like to keep in mind is sometimes you had stocks going up and you had generally lower yields, as in 2013. This was also the case right here. More recently, that's actually rising yield, excuse me. So rising yields, lower prices. And here you had the opposite. We have this acceleration of the bull market and yields are going higher. So there's no fixed, rigid relationship. Right now we're in a zone where higher yields would probably be welcome, but not necessary for the market to go higher. Other things to keep in mind is this was the highest gap you've had. If you look at the stock-bond ratio, some people do look at that. That was in the summer of 2018. We're pretty close right now, so it wouldn't be too surprising if stocks had to calm down here a little bit because they have had a pretty good outperformance, especially on a 12-month look back to bonds right now, guys.
Mike, thanks very much for that. See you again shortly. Still to come, the CEO of John Deere will join us live from the Consumer Electronics Show to discuss how new tech is impacting farming. Closing bell, back after this break.
Imagine yourself in an unspoiled paradise, discovering the charms of a new city, or sampling street food with the locals. Fly from London to more than 160 destinations worldwide and make 2020 a year like never before with Qatar Airways, named world's best airline by Skytrax. Our incredible selection of special fares are available now. Book today at QatarAirways.com. Qatar Airways, going places together.
You might already know that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro sports leagues wherever you go. But did you know TuneIn is also home to the wide world of college sports?
Open three, DeAndre Hunter got it! Handoff Carruthers, big hole right side. He leaps and he surges in, touchdown!
From live college football, basketball, and baseball games to podcasts and coaches shows fueling your love for the game and your school. And the best part is, it's all free. Search college sports to find your team or league.
The NBA is on TuneIn Premium.
Pointer by Anthony Davis. It's good!
Each week, TuneIn picks an NBA game you just can't miss. Two of the top teams in the Western Conference go head-to-head. This Sunday, the Clippers are at the Nuggets. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Three ball on the way. He got it to go! Three from the angle. Got it!
Search NBA to follow your favorite NBA team today.
Want TuneIn to remind you when the big NFL game is about to get underway? Be sure notifications are allowed on your phone and search NFL on the TuneIn app. Find the game you want to hear under events and tap Notify Me. We'll let you know exactly when it's time to listen in for kickoff. Hear every play of the NFL playoffs live with the NFL on TuneIn Premium. The divisional round kicks off Saturday at 4:35 p.m. Eastern when the Vikings travel cross country to take on the 49ers in an NFC showdown in Santa Clara. The action continues at 8:15 as the Ravens host the Tennessee Titans in Baltimore. On Sunday, listen live beginning at 3:05 Eastern as the Texans and Chiefs square off in Kansas City, followed by the Seahawks and Packers at 6:40 in Green Bay. The excitement of the NFL playoffs is on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Welcome back. Just over 15 minutes left of the session. Last chance trade time. Josh, what are you going for?
So I want to give you Netflix, and this one is not a swing for the fences trade. It's a simple risk reward, and this may not be your cup of tea. This one looked interesting to me. I think there's a potential 8% upside. Stock's currently $338. That would get you right back to the gap. Below 321, the market is telling you you're wrong. Trade's not going to work. That's where you'd get out. Roughly 5% downside. So it's just about 2-to-1 risk reward if you're a short-term trader.
You want to play Netflix for just 8%.
Purely on the chart.
It's a volatile stock. I feel like that's a gamble for that.
That's why you would trade it. Like
short term.
You don't want to trade non-volatile stocks. We'll be here all day. Listen, not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm not talking about it fundamentally or as an investment. Just purely looking at where buyers and sellers are on the chart.
All right, Netflix. Up next, we'll take you inside the market zone, commercial-free coverage of all the action going into the close.
My WW's been an amazing journey.
Puts his head down, crashes, and
the snap is good. The hold is good. The kick is on its way. It is good!
Did you know all weekend long the NFL playoffs are on TuneIn?
In for the touchdown.
Search NFL to never miss a moment of the action.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour. But we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
The NBA is on TuneIn Premium.
Pointer by Anthony Davis. That's good!
Each week, TuneIn picks an NBA game you just can't miss. 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference go head-to-head. This Sunday, the Clippers are at the Nuggets. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. Eastern.
3 ball on the way. He got it to go! 3 from the angle. Got it!
Search NBA to follow your favorite NBA team today.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, hook, into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
Hello, I'm Nat Coombs from ESPN's The Nat Coombs Show, which admittedly is 1 out of 10 for original podcast name, but 10 out of 10 for NFL chat. Every week, we're dropping 4 episodes with an all-pro lineup of terrific guests, journalists, comedians, players, coaches, you name it, all getting you up to speed with every everything gridiron. The Nat Coombs Show. American football, British accent. Add to your favorites and listen on TuneIn.
Along the goal line, Martin scores! It takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, he scores!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Welcome back. We've got less than 12 minutes left in the trading day, and it's been a significant day in terms of a rally for the major averages with both the S&P and the NASDAQ poised for fresh record closes. We are now in the closing bell market zone. Commercial-free coverage of all the action going into the close.
CNBC senior markets commentator Mike Santoli here, as always, to break down these crucial moments of the trading day. And today, we've got Josh Brown from Ritholtz Wealth Management as well. Let's get to Bertha Coombs, first of all, with breaking news on a healthcare company preparing to go public. Bertha.
That's right, Wolf. Accolade. That is the employee health benefits navigation firm. According to our colleagues, Christina Farr and Alex Sherman, has hired Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley to explore going public. According to the sources, they are exploring going public this year. The venture-backed firm is valued at some $620 billion. Comcast is an investor in Accolade. It's already been a busy year, with One Medical having filed its S1 just last week. Back to you guys.
Bertha, thanks so much for that. Let's turn now to Iran and how rising tensions in the Middle East are impacting energy stocks. Eric Chemi is at the commodity desk. Eric, a wild 24 hours for oil.
That's right, Will. For a very volatile 24 hours for crude. You can see all this red behind me here in energy. Prices jumping 4.5% overnight, going higher. WTI hit its highest level since April, but that was last night. Obviously, you see that red behind me. Prices dropping this morning, as President Trump said. Iran appears to be standing down. WTI settling below $60 a barrel. That's its lowest price in almost a month. Energy stocks moving in lockstep. Energy was the only S&P 500 sector in negative territory for much of the day. In fact, 8 of the 10 worst stocks in the S&P 500 today are energy names, including Marathon, Phillips 66, Devon, Cabot, several others. Back to you.
Eric Chemi, thank you. Mike Santoli, the other thing to note when you're taking a look at the energy complex is the U.S. inventory numbers we got today. They were a larger than expected build. Josh, I'll send it over to you with that point.
You know, this is now a permanent feature of when we talk about commodities and energy and oil, the flexibility of the U.S. oil field complex. And it seems limitless, and sometimes it is. And when we don't have enough drills out there and there is a commodity price spike, the reaction time is much quicker in 2019 than it was in even 1999. And that's just a new reality.
I would just say, just with regard to the stocks themselves, the exploration and production stocks down 4% as a group today. Sort of, they've had a little bit of a run, bouncing off of very depressed levels. Very low conviction, though. You can tell. People are like, well, fine, if this is going to work this year, let's try it. But with crude backing off, it's not like anybody feels like they really love these businesses.
I don't know if we can just bring up an intraday chart of the S&P 500. We've had quite a big pullback in the last couple of minutes. There are some reports out there about possible action in the Middle East. Not anything we've been able to confirm, but the fact is the market has pulled back, as you can see. We were at session highs about 5-10 minutes ago. We're now only 0.6%, still significantly
We're at levels
high.
Not seen since 11 a.m. today.
Levels
this is really uncharted territory.
A pullback likely because of some of these reports. So we will get back to you on those in a moment.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, Macy's posting better than expected holiday sales. Let's send it over to Courtney Reagan for more. Court.
Hi, Morgan. Yes, so Macy's says that holiday sales for the month of November and December did fall 0.6%, but that was better than what most analysts were expecting for the holiday and the full quarter, and also an improvement from the trend that was seen in the previous quarter. Now, Macy's shares are up by about 2.5%. They were up significantly more than that at the open, but have since paired some of those gains. The retailer also saying they are closing 28 Macy's stores and 1 Bloomingdale's location as part of its annual review. Separately, after the bell here in just moments, we are expecting results from Bed Bath & Beyond. That embattled retailer is expected to post comparable sales down about 5% on earnings of 2 cents per share. It will be the first time that we will hear from new CEO Mark Triton, and investors are anxious to see what he has to say about the turnaround plan for Bed Bath & Beyond. Back over to you.
Well, thanks very much for that tough setup for them. It's been a strong couple of months for that particular stock. Josh, where do you stand on Macy's? Possible turnaround or not really?
I mean, anything's possible. I don't think it's too late for Macy's. I don't think they're in quite such dire condition. It's just, for me, it's too tough of a stock. They're easier. Look, 82% of the S&P 500, as we speak, is above the 200-day moving average. Virtually everything's working. Even areas that have been consolidated. Take a look at the transports. IYT is your ETF there. This is an extraordinarily interesting level at 200. We're about 197, 198. if you pull the chart back a little bit, you can see we've been consolidating below the 200 level on the transports since January of 2018. It would be remarkable for them to burst through here and confirm the new highs in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. If, in fact, that happens, that's a whole new segment of stocks that are working. Why would we be fooling around with things like Macy's unless we're deep value investors and we really are?
Or unless you see it as a call option on it's not going to die very quickly. Honestly, that's the way the stock got valued. It's for rapid decline.
$18.
And 8% dividend.
Yeah. Interesting to see that breakout in transports, though. Talk about the Dow theorists getting back in the game.
I mean, like, think about how many stocks are. You have airlines could start working again. You have railroads.
Yeah.
What am I doing with Bloomingdale's? Anyway, just my opinion.
We've got about 5.5 minutes left to trade. We're up 0.5% on the S&P 500. A Boeing 737 plane flying from Tehran to Kiev crashed overnight just minutes after takeoff. Phil LeBeau has the details on that for us. Phil.
And Wolf, it's the circumstances behind this accident, the fact that we don't have many answers right now that are really, it's raising questions among people about what actually happened with this plane crash. It did happen 2 minutes after it took off. Ukrainian International Airlines 737-800. Now, that's not the 737 MAX. That's the previous generation, the 737NG. 176 people on board. Iran is saying it may not turn over the black box. That's one of the issues that people are saying, wait, that sounds a little suspicious there. The Ukrainian Airlines 737-800 was built in 2016. It had a relatively young engine. It had a young fuselage. This is not something that you would expect to see some issues with. Boeing has delivered approximately 8,000 737NG planes. The NTSB and Boeing are both hoping to eventually get a hold of the black box and a cockpit data voice recorder. But given the circumstances of the geopolitical situation in Iran, there's already discussion that that may not happen. And if that doesn't happen, we may not find out the cause of this crash. Quickly take a look at shares of GE. It's a joint venture partner. It and Safran, CFM, it makes the engines that were on this plane. But again, guys, the circumstances here are so weird that a lot of people are increasingly saying, wait a second, within 2 minutes of taking off, boom, it goes away. That is not usually what you see when you have a mechanical problem.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this one unfolds. Phil, thank you for joining us. And of course, Boeing is down almost 2%, one of the biggest weights on the Dow right now. Shares of Grubhub, though, are moving today on reports that it's considering a possible sale. Let's get to Frank Holland for more on that. Frank.
Hey there, Morgan. Grubhub surging more than 13% today following the Wall Street Journal reporting the food delivery company is considering strategies, including a possible sale as industry competition increases. I spoke to Grubhub. They say they don't comment on rumors. However, we do know that November data shows rival DoorDash has become the industry leader with 37% of U.S. sales. Grubhub in second place with 30%. Last quarter, CEO Matt Maloney, he blamed in part promiscuous customers using multiple services for Grubhub's profits declining by 40%. The stock has also fallen 30% over the last year. Back over to you.
Frank, thanks very much for that. Let's have a check-in on the S&P 500. Still healthily up on the day, off the session highs. A little bit of pressure into the close that might be on unconfirmed reports from Reuters of a blast in Baghdad. Either way, still a significant gain on the day and a significant gain from where the futures were overnight. Mike, you've been looking at the market internals today.
Yeah, and actually not unanimously positive even when we were at the highs of the day. Just look in particular at up versus down volume on the New York Stock Exchange. You see it's about 50-50. A lot of that selling in those energy stocks, as well as semis are weak on the day. So that's something to keep in mind. This was not a kind of all-in, let's buy everything type of rally, even when we were working. Here's software versus semis. This is just since this is 1 month, basically, or 10 days rather. That shows you a comeback in software. It's a 20 percentage point outperformance by semis, though, over the last 6 months. So this is much more about a gap being filled. The VIX had been pulling back. Now we've rebuilt it. I still think there's a bit in volatility just because people are a little bit skittish about this tape with the indexes at the high.
Absolutely. We've got less than 2 minutes left to go. Let's send over to Rick Santelli for a check on bonds as well. Rick.
Like the stock market, some of those unconfirmed reports are pushing yields down a bit, price up. Look at a 24-hour chart of 10s. Just amazing. Overnight, 170 popped 18 basis points, giving a few back. All maturities are still higher in yield on the session. 24-hour boons, they're getting closer and closer to the highest yields since May of last year. And finally, a 2-week chart of the S&P 500 versus 10s. Mike's been talking about it. Boy, 2020, stocks really pushing up yields. And as far as the NASDAQ, Bertha, even with the setback, a 91 handles, obviously a new historic high.
Yeah, and it's all about software. Mike talked about it. Software and communications have really been propelling us forward here, although Tesla today among that new high list as well. Tesla almost hitting $500, doubling over the last 3 months. Healthcare also strong as well. Smile Direct having a big day after announcing that it's expanding in Hong Kong after 21% surge on Monday. Walgreens, though, at the corner of disruption in both retail and healthcare. Its earnings missed, its outlook was flat, and the company continues to grapple with trying to turn the ship around here. Over to Bob.
Microsoft, Apple, Home Depot, Caterpillar, all well off of their highs, Bertha, in the last 15 minutes or so. I like what I saw in earnings today. I like Constellation brand, beat and raise. That was a good number for them. Lennar and the home builders beat on some of the key metrics, including new orders and deliveries. Samsung over in Korea, they also reported stronger than expected preliminary numbers. Good start to the earnings season. There's the closing bell. We are well off of the highs on the day in the last 15 minutes or so, though the Dow Jones Industrial Average still up 160 points, new high for the S&P 500, 3252.
Welcome to the Closing Bell, everyone. I'm Wilfred Cross.
And I'm Morgan Brennan, in for Sarah Eisen, along with Mike Santoli, CNBC's senior markets commentator.
ICE Data Services, who rang the bell here at the stock exchange, win the award for loudest gathering in quite some time, I have to say. Anyway, the S&P 500 closing high by 0.5%, as Bob Pisani just said. Well off the session highs, nonetheless significantly higher than where we opened, and more importantly than where we were overnight in the futures markets. Around about 0.5% of gain for each of the major averages.
Yeah, we had fresh record intraday highs for the NASDAQ and the S&P. It looks like a fresh closing high for the NASDAQ as well. Not so as we see stocks settle for the S&P, though. Crude lower, gold lower, also defense stocks, which had rallied overnight, like some of those other safe haven plays tied to the geopolitical situation, also drifting lower to close the day. Joining us to talk about that market day, Shannon Sakosha, Chief Investment Officer at Boston Private Wealth, and still with us, Josh Brown, CEO of Britholtz Wealth Management. But first, we go to Mike Santoli.
You know, Morgan, I think we've all been talking about the resilience of the market. I think you can appreciate the resilience and say that clearly the market has kind of maintained its trend, while also saying perhaps we didn't get enough in this little pullback and this little mini scare over the Iran conflict to really take the wind out of the sails of the over-optimism that we came into the year with. So I think we have to consider both those things. If I look at Apple going up 1.5%, going over $300 a share on nothing but the fact that we're not at war, and Tesla to 500 and Alphabet going above 1,400, it does seem as if people are kind of still piling into the obvious stocks just as a grab. And I'm not saying that's a problem, but it means that maybe we're at risk of having a true melt-up weeks after we're talking about a melt-up that wasn't.
Shannon, do you think that the market has shown sort of impressive resilience to start the year, and what do you take away from that?
Well, I think that there really hasn't been much of a change between the environment that we left in 2019 and what we see here in 2020. If you think about it in terms of, you know, an accommodative central bank and continuing improvement in economic data, that's not going to be upset by the issues that we're having in Iran right now. And I think that we're going to continue to see strength in those names that were winners for folks last year.
Josh, what do you think of the session we just had here? I mean, huge reversal from a 400-point drop in the Dow futures overnight.
Yeah, I agree with everything Shannon said. Even though the calendar is turned over, people haven't changed their minds about how much they want to be invested, especially in U.S. large cap tech and growth names. Today's session's a wild one, and what I like to do on days like today, I like to look at the style and factor ETFs to get a sense of where the real strength is beyond just, you know, Apple, Microsoft. So what's interesting today is you have this new all-time high. You also have a new record high in the Momentum ETF. MTUM is how you can track it at home. And at the same time, new record high in quality. QUAL is the best way to look at that. So you've got high-quality companies with strong balance sheets, good earnings, working really well, and then you've got this whole contingent of momentum stocks doing the same exact thing.
With huge overlap, let's just say.
Correct.
Quality and defensive stocks stocks
No
packed
doubt.
into the momentum.
No doubt. And so when you think about that, you say to yourself, well, what are investors long, if not those names? Those are the names. And so what's been working through 2019 has continued into 2020. I think Shannon nailed it.
Sorry, Morgan.
I'm just going to ask Shannon a real quick question. What do you think of defense stocks here, Shannon?
So I think if you've already been in defense stocks, you probably have been there for some time. I know we've had some defense holdings for several years. If you think about insulation from trade policy, you've been in defense if you wanted industrials exposure. So, I wouldn't pile into those stocks here. I think that they've already performed pretty well. But if you've been holding them for the last couple of years as your industrial exposure, there's no harm in holding onto them here.
Let's dive into the top story of the last few days, Iran. Overnight, Iran retaliated for the U.S. killing of General Qasem Soleimani, launching missiles at 2 military bases housing U.S. troops in Iraq. Today, President Trump addressed the nation, saying no Americans were harmed in that attack, and that Iran appears to be standing down following those strikes. And just in the last hour, an unconfirmed Reuters report that 2 blasts and sirens could be heard in Baghdad. Let's head to the White House, where CNBC's Eamon Jabbers has the latest for us. Eamon.
Yeah, Wilford, that's right. You remember before the Iranian retaliation last night, the president was talking about striking as many as 52 Iranian targets. There was a controversy of whether or not he would strike at Iranian cultural sites as well as militarily significant sites. None of that has happened since the Iranian attack last night. In fact, what the president said today was no Americans or Iraqis were hurt in the strike last night. He said Americans should be grateful about that. And he looked to find an economic stick that he can use as leverage in this overall negotiation with the Iranians. Here's what he said.
As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior.
So no indication from the White House or the Treasury Department of what specific sanctions the president has in mind here. No paperwork has been released to us about what's going to be imposed. And as you know, the United States already has punishing economic sanctions in place against the Iranians. One thing to consider here is the idea of secondary sanctions, which is an idea that has been kicking around for a while. Not clear whether that's where the administration is going to land, but the idea would be looking at other countries, third-party countries that are doing business with the Iranian regime and finding a way to clamp down on that as well. Again, not clear that's where the administration is going to land, but that's one idea that's sort of been out there in the ether here as you talk to folks about what it is the president might do. At some point, we presume the Treasury Department will give us a readout on what exactly the president has in mind here.
Eamon, thanks very much for that. Mike, in terms of the sort of easing risk towards this, it wasn't just equities that reversed, but clearly oil prices, but bonds as well. We saw it steepening today, and that, again, continues to correlate strongly with gains.
It does. I mean, it was actually a pretty mild risk-off move. So, yes, yields went down, but it was not all that dramatic. It seemed as if it was pretty orderly all around. And if this type of back and forth with the reciprocal attacks and things like that, if it's not going to be transmitted into the equity markets by way of an oil shock of some sort, it's very hard to see it sustainably mattering that much, except, as I've been saying, as a way to just kind of cool off people's mood a little bit and give people pause from piling into the market. But it seems like today kind of changed that because people saw no impediment, at least most of the day.
Isn't it interesting, Mike, that gold and oil are diverging?
Yeah.
Like, so oil is not getting going like the way you would traditionally think. Gold is off to the races. Gold miners, silver, anything even close to related is bid. They are all over these names.
Backed off today, but for sure, it had been working very well. Yeah.
Which I think, Shannon, also begs the question, what happens to the dollar from here?
Well, I think we looked at what happened with the dollar last year, and we saw, a lot of moves during the year, and it basically closed flat. I think our view is that the dollar will continue to remain stable, which provides a foundation for continued gains in emerging markets and international developed stocks. I think if you see any move out of treasuries, which you could see over the course of the next month or so as yields increase in Europe, I think that that's going to bode well for non-dollar investors outside of the United States.
All right, the World Bank out with its 2020 global economic forecast just moments ago as well. The report predicts global growth of 2.5% as investment and trade headwinds abate after weighing on sentiment last year. The report is positive on emerging markets, estimating growth will accelerate to 4.1% in those regions, while slowing to 1.4% in advanced economies. We'll have one of the authors of this report from the World Bank on Closing Bell later on in the show, so stay tuned. Meantime, Mike, what do you make of this? I mean, it's almost, the commentary is almost reminds me of some of the stuff we've heard from the Fed recently.
Absolutely. I mean, it really does fit in, I think, with the dominant mode of what people think could happen this year. If the U.S. was the shelter from the global slowdown, clearly the better growth on a rebound is going to happen elsewhere.
That said, I don't think they were particularly encouraging about the rebound that some might have been expecting to see in Europe. I mean, no one's expecting Europe to get off to the races, of course, but there was a theme coming into the end of last year. Europe's coming out of the woods, fiscal stimulus, Christine Lagarde, etc., and that doesn't really play out on this forecast, which obviously remains to be.
That is true. It's more from the market's perspective in Europe. It's more just kind of less bad, and that's good for financial assets. But yeah, not a huge driver of world growth.
Josh Brown and Shannon Sakosha, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you both, as always. Up next, we head out to the Consumer Electronics Show for an interview with the CEO of John Deere. He'll weigh in on new technology in the agriculture space and if trade tensions are hurting his business. Closing Bell back in 90 seconds.
This is the investing book everyone is talking about. It's called...
This is not a cat. This is not a rocket. And this is not a sale. That's right. At Smarty Mobile, we're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30-gig data SIM for just £10 a month. With unlimited calls and texts and no speed restrictions, credit checks or contract tying you down, why shop around? New plans, great value. Now that's Smarty. Grab yours today. Search Smarty Mobile. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
Imagine yourself in an unspoiled paradise, discovering the charms of a new city, or sampling street food with the locals. Fly from London to more than 160 destinations worldwide and make 2020 a year like never before with Qatar Airways, named world's best airline by Skytrax. Our incredible selection of special fares are available now. Book today at QatarAirways.com. Qatar Airways, going places together.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
The NBA is on TuneIn Premium.
Pointer by Anthony Davis. It's good!
Each week, TuneIn picks an NBA game you just can't miss. Two of the top teams in the Western Conference go head-to-head. This Sunday, the Clippers are at the Nuggets. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Three ball on the way. He got it to go! Three from the angle. Got it!
Search NBA to follow your favorite NBA team today.
Welcome back to Closing Bell. It's day 3 at CES, where companies small and large are debuting breakthrough technology, including the 182-year-old agriculture giant John Deere. From machine learning to robotics to computer vision, company is developing technology to help farmers make critical decisions and become more efficient than ever before. And John Forbes has our exclusive interview with their new CEO, John May. John.
That's right. Morgan, thank you. John May of Deere & Company, parent of John Deere. Great to have you here with us on CNBC.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I got to start off asking you about how some of these macro shocks are impacting your business. You've talked to the street about weather and what a big impact that had last year. Trade has been an issue. What is this tension with Iran going to do, if anything, to what you told analysts even earlier today, I believe?
Sure. You know, we have employees and customers in over 130 countries. We have operations located in around 30 countries where we have factories and offices. And our number one goal is to make sure that we're structuring our business in those markets as times change to make sure that we're protecting our assets and investing at the appropriate levels. One of the things we've seen as a company, as a 180-year-old company, we've seen lots of changes in trade, lots of changes in political issues come up throughout the years. One of the things we've tried to do is focus on what we can control. And what we can control is continue to try to develop the best products and the best solutions to serve our customers.
It sounds like you're saying you're looking to get more efficient in some markets, perhaps pare down the workforce or facilities?
No, maybe in some cases that might be an outcome where if we have a market that is in, very difficult financial conditions, that might be an option. But typically what we try to do is our vision for each of the markets we're in, we have a long-term vision. We see markets, because most agricultural markets have a longer-term nature to them. So what we like to do is maybe adjust the capital allocations that we have in those markets, but continue to invest in products and services and solutions to make sure that we're bringing the best products to make our customers more productive, more profitable, regardless of what the market condition is.
Let's talk about why you're here.
Yes.
Second year at CES, you told me that you find talent here, your employees love that you're here, but also from a wider perspective, you've got the oldest installed base of equipment out there than you have in a while, and you're hoping that customers adopt new technology as a way to stay more productive. What are you highlighting here on the technology front?
So we have lots of new technologies that we're highlighting. For the last 20 years, first of all, we've been investing in systems like guidance, telematics, and data management, which we believe are the absolute foundation pieces of technology that you need to do precision ag. You need to know where the vehicle is, you need to talk to the vehicle, and you need to process data on the vehicle. Today, what we're highlighting is that next stack of data like artificial intelligence, data like computer vision, data like machine learning, new systems that are going to bring even more value to our customers in the form of productivity and profitability.
I was talking to a farmer from the Mississippi Delta who you've got here in your booth. I believe he's got around 1,200 acres out there. He's a deer customer. I asked him why customers perhaps have been holding off on buying, and he talked about the trade uncertainty and said, well, if that gets solved, that could bring a lot of demand into the market, and he expects that people would be buying a lot more of your hardware. Is that the way you're looking at it too?
First of all, Jeremy Jack is one of our most progressive farmers. Since we started this journey in 2012, he was one of our leading adopters of our precision ag technologies. So I know Jeremy will start buying when he sees the value for it. But there is no doubt uncertainty right now in the markets, and as a result, that has caused some of our farmers to pause. But what hasn't changed, though, is the fundamentals of agriculture and the real drivers between agriculture. Populations are going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to see improved diets, which means, more wealth, improved diets. They're going to result in more demand in grains and proteins. And as a result, we will come out of this. Our industry will come out of this because we need to meet that productivity and that demand requirement.
I think Jeremy is still buying. He opened up his phone and showed me, the crops on the phone, coded to exactly where the tractors are and what they're doing. So he's a big customer of your technology, even during this period. It's great to have you with us, John May of Deere & Company. I appreciate it. Guys, back to you.
John and John, thank you both very much for that. Up next, find out why mega-cap tech stocks are having a big impact on how the Dow reflects the overall market.
And later, we will get the outlook for oil prices and amid tensions, with Iran when we speak exclusively with former Shell President John Hofmeister. Stay with us.
This ain't just lunch. It's the KFC fill-up lunch for $1.99. It's mighty fine. Tingles your spine, so jump in line because it's time to dine on a mini fillet burger, 2 hot wings and fries, all for a fist-pumping $1.99. What the... The KFC fill-up lunch every day until 3 p.m. at participating restaurants every day from 2nd to 26th of January until 3 p.m. only, subject to availability.
Imagine yourself in an unspoiled paradise, discovering the charms of a new city, or sampling street food with the locals. Fly from London to more than 160 destinations worldwide and make 2020 a year like never before with Qatar Airways, named world's best airline by Skytrax. Our incredible selection of special fares are available now. Book today at QatarAirways.com. Qatar Airways, going places together.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
You might already know that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro sports leagues wherever you go. But did you know TuneIn is also home to the wide world of college sports?
Open three, DeAndre Hunter got it! Handoff Carruthers, big hole right side. He leaps and he surges in, touchdown!
From live college football, basketball, and baseball games to podcasts and coaches shows fueling your love for the game in your school. And the best part is, it's all free. Search college sports to find your team or league.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Be better informed, be better prepared. The Better Network is on TuneIn. This is Brent Musburger. Search BETR and start hanging out with me and my guys in the desert weekday afternoons. The Better Network is now on TuneIn.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Welcome back. We've got an earnings alert on Bed Bath & Beyond. Courtney Reagan's got it for us. Hey, Court.
Hi there, Wilf. So we do want to point out that shares of Bed Bath & Beyond are halted here in after-hours trading. They will reopen at 45 after, but they are reporting a loss adjusted of 38 cents. Analysts were actually looking for a gain of 2 cents, so a big miss there. Light on revenues. The street was looking for $2.85 billion. Revenues coming in at $2.76 billion. Comparable sales coming in down 8.3%. The street had expected comp sales to fall 5%. The company is withdrawing its full year guidance for the year 2019. This is the third quarter, so they still had one more quarter left to go in their fiscal 2019. They do say that sales and profitability will remain pressured, but because they have a new CEO and they're going through this turnaround plan and potentially really looking at re-engineering many things about the company, they think it's appropriate to withdraw the guidance at this point. So really across the board, a very large miss for Bed Bath & Beyond as they withdraw their guidance under new CEO Mark Triton. And it is a good reminder that about 49% of the shares are held short when these shares do reopen for after-hours trading. Back over to you.
And Cor, we discussed this yesterday. The shares, I'm just checking, are up 67% in the last 3 months. And with the scale of this miss and with more removing the guidance, one can only guess how much of that 67% they're going to give up when they reopen.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, Wilf. I mean, to be honest about what's happened at this company, of course, they finally realized they needed to re-engineer a lot of things, and they reseated their board. They got a new CEO. Since coming in November, Mark Triton has already ousted 6 executives, so he's looking for new executives and really a new perspective all the way around. But it has, as you point out, caused an awful lot of volatility in the shares as this process has gone forward, and these earnings after the bell here certainly won't help when these shares reopen. Expect some pretty wild moves in the stock price.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Courtney Reagan, thank you. Let's send it over to Mike Santoli for his third dashboard of the day. Mike.
Morgan, a lot of different weights and measures to get a glimpse of what's actually going on in the stock market. The Dow Industrials is the oldest one, but how good a job does it do? I asked the folks over at Bespoke to look at the market cap captured by the Dow Jones Industrial Average and what percentage of the overall market cap that represents. And you can see this is the past 20 years. It's been as high as about 32%. That was at the bear market low just about. And it's kind of fallen down here toward 24% in 2015. And guess what? This spike is when they added Apple. So what's been going on right now is a lot of market value in this in the overall market is accruing to the likes of Alphabet and Facebook and Amazon and companies that are not in the Dow. And in fact, those last two cannot get into the Dow because of the very high share prices. Now, take a look at the 1 year of the Dow against the Wilshire 5000. That's the overall market. There's been some divergence. You see the Wilshire has outperformed by 4 percentage points. Dow's been a little bit stayed. But look at over 20 years. These same two indexes over 20 years. It's ridiculous how closely they match over 20 years when this is 30 stocks and this is over 4,000 or 3,000 right now. So that kind of shows you that just owning a chunk of large cap stocks over a very long period of time is basically going to be the market.
The most important difference, which I never get my head around, is that it's price weighted.
It's price weighted, exactly.
And in fact, over the last 12 months, that's had quite a big impact because of Boeing.
It absolutely has. And by the way, that's why the market cap of the Dow is kind of a non sequitur. But right. I wanted to just see exactly how much of the overall tape it captures.
Okay, Mike, thanks.
Oil prices, meantime, plunging as President Trump said it appears Iran is standing down after launching attacks against bases housing American troops in Iraq. Former Shell oil president John Hofmeister tells us where he sees crude prices heading from here. Coming up.
It's a new beginning. Martin here loves being his own boss, but staying on top of all the tax rules used to drive him up the stud wall. This 31st of January self-assessment deadline, however, Martin won't be hitting the roof. Just a few buttons. He's using QuickBooks Self-Employed to make sure his tax bill is all above board. It tracks income and expenses, so he always knows what he owes. You could say he smashed it.
Visit quickbooks.co.uk for details. Intuit QuickBooks.
Imagine yourself in an unspoiled paradise, discovering the charms of a new city, or sampling street food with the locals. Fly from London to more than 160 destinations worldwide and make 2020 a year like never before with Qatar Airways, named world's best airline by Skytrax. Our incredible selection of special fares are available now. Book today at QatarAirways.com. Qatar Airways, going places together.
Be better informed, be better prepared. The Better Network is on TuneIn. This is Brent Musburger. Search BETR and start hanging out with me and my guys in the desert weekday afternoons. The Better Network is now on TuneIn.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Welcome back. It is time now for a CNBC News Update with Sue Herrera. Hey, Sue.
Hello, Morgan. Hello, everyone. Here's what's happening at this hour. Iran's military is disputing suggestions one of its missiles caused a Ukrainian airliner to crash shortly after takeoff in Tehran. All 176 people on board were killed. It happened hours after Iran launched a missile attack on U.S. forces in Iraq. The NTSB is investigating Sunday's deadly pileup on a Pennsylvania turnpike. Investigators say a tour bus struck a median barrier, rolled onto its side, and created a chain reaction. The crash involved 3 tractor trailers. 5 people were killed and dozens more were injured. Heavy rains are washing out roads and triggering mudslides in Peru. It is the country's rainy season, but authorities say they haven't seen it this bad in almost 20 years. And this will put a smile on your face. 2 giant pandas enjoying a snow day in northwest China. They obviously wrestling during the season's first snowfall in that region. The pair, Xiao, Xin, and Lulu, live at the Foping Panda Valley facility.
It looks a little bit more than playful. Those teeth are sharp.
Those teeth and the claws are sharp too, but you know, maybe they're kind of like brothers. You know, they have that.
Yeah, it's
I think it's super cute, and I think we needed this on a day where the news has been what it is.
Well, that's kind of why we picked it, because we really wanted to put a smile on everybody's face, because it's a tough news day in a lot of areas. So, that's how I wanted to end the afternoons. Just for you guys.
And we thank you for it. Great choice. Sue Herrera, thanks very much for that.
Sending you a big panda bear hug.
Now, President, but not a sort of claw or bite of the ear, as we saw there. President Trump speaking at the White House earlier today after Iran launched missiles at 2 military bases housing U.S. troops in Iraq overnight.
We suffered no casualties. All of our soldiers are safe, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases. Our great American forces are prepared for anything. Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world.
Oil markets fell sharply off the back of those comments, and earlier today when there were some signs that possible fears of escalation may have been overdone. John Hoffmeister, founder and CEO of Citizens for Affordable Energy and former president of Shell Oil Company, joins us now. Overall, John, what's been your take on the way the oil prices reacted, firstly to the upside and now pulling back with these tensions with Iran?
There was an initial fear, but, you know, traders do a good job of managing whether it's the goes-ins or the go-outs of the trade. And what happened here is people realize the industry is much more resilient overall from a supply side than it has been in a very, very long time. There's been so much technological development. I can remember a decade ago having discussions among ourselves in the oil industry about we've really got to get rid somehow of this OPEC overhang because it destroys the reputation of an otherwise good industry. And so the resilience of the industry has been a focus of really the last decade. And whether it's the U.S. shale and the success of the shale activity, whether it's the discoveries off Brazil, off Guyana, whether it's the developments of improved efficiency in well production, there's just so much more strength on the supply side in the industry today that it's hard for traders to exploit the geopolitical event that might be taking place.
And of course, we haven't seen anything that has happened as these tensions have ratcheted up in recent days that has actually affected that supply. So I wonder what you think from a fundamental standpoint, the demand-supply balance looks like this year and what that does mean for prices.
It's a little bit heavy on the supply side, which is why the prices are hanging in the 60s and 50s. If there was real shortage, if there was real concern out there, let's say 6 months, 8 to 12 months from now, we'd see a much higher and a more volatile upward pressure than what we're seeing. But I think there's confidence that the supply side will deliver against what is really a rather slow growth demand side. And as long as that equilibrium of sorts stays where it is, I think we can predict, fairly stable prices. There's always the case. If Iran did something really, really foolish, like trying to shut down the Straits of Hormuz, then we would see a gigantic spike because nearly 20% of the world's oil goes through the Straits of Hormuz every day. That would be foolish on Iran's part. It would further discount them as a nation of the world, because they would simply be fighting the whole world, not just the United States. And so I doubt that they would do something that extreme, but they could. And prices would respond in an extreme way if that were to occur.
John, given the U.S.'s increasing energy independence, how many years away, are we decades away from, if that sort of action was taken, to not seeing a significant price reaction at the pump in the U.S.?
I don't think we will ever be completely free of imported oil in the U.S. until we have so electrified the fleet and made the other uses of oil so efficient, which maybe could occur in the next 10 to 20 years, that we could completely ignore the Middle East. The Middle East is a big factor. It is the heart of global oil production, and while the U.S. is now the world's biggest supplier, the U.S. is also the world's biggest consumer, and we can't supply enough to meet our own consumption. We consume 20 million barrels a day in the U.S., and we produce less than right around 13. So there is that natural imbalance, and so that's always going to be the case based upon how our refinery system is organized. Refineries are built around a type of oil, and so we have U.S. refineries that are built around taking the type of oil that comes from the Middle East or from Venezuela or from wherever, and you can't just put any kind of oil in a refinery and get the oil products you're looking for. It's got to be structured in such a way. So we have this inherent obstacle to complete independence.
All right, John Hoffmeister, thanks for joining us on a day where WTI actually ended down 4%.
Still ahead, much more on CNBC's one-on-one interview with former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn in the wake of his escape from Japan. We're back in a couple of minutes.
Right now, instead of hearing this, you could be listening to the music that keeps you moving with TuneIn Premium. Find today's biggest songs and all of your favorites commercial-free. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
You might already know that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro sports leagues wherever you go. But did you know TuneIn is also home to the wide world of college sports?
Open three, DeAndre Hunter got it! Handoff Carruthers, big hole right side. He leaps and he surges in, touchdown!
From live college football, basketball, and baseball games to podcasts and coaches shows fueling your love for the game in your school. And the best part is, it's all free. Search college sports to find your team or league. Want TuneIn to remind you when the big NFL game is about to get underway? Be sure notifications are allowed on your phone and search NFL on the TuneIn app. Find the game you want to hear under events and tap Notify Me. We'll let you know exactly when it's time to listen in for kickoff.
On the goal line, scores! It takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
Hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, they stop!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down!
Get your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three is up and in!
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn. We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
Welcome back to Closing Bell. The World Bank cutting its outlook for global growth, issuing a new forecast of 2.5% global growth in 2020 due to a slower than expected recovery in trade and investment. It also forecasted that growth rates for advanced and emerging markets would diverge even further to 1.4% and 4.1% respectively. Here to break down those numbers in a First on CNBC interview, Ayan Kose, World Bank Director of Development Prospects and one of the authors of this report. Ayan, thanks for joining us today. One of the things that really got my attention in this is the fact that you say that this rebound is not broad-based and that actually a third of emerging market and developing economies are projected to decelerate this year. Where do you see the strength? Where do you see the weakness, and why?
So first of all, there is modest acceleration in growth, and this is good news. So a large part of this acceleration is going to be driven by a small number of emerging and developing economies. And these economies, some of them had recessions, some of them had deep slowdowns last year. So overall, we see growth picking up, and that is the good news. Trade tensions moderating, financial conditions remain accommodative, and relative to where we were last year in January, we are in a much better shape. We are coming out of 2019. Global economies saw the lowest growth since, global financial crisis. So this modest acceleration is good news. At the same time, we downgraded our forecast across the board in advanced economies, in emerging developing economies. Of course, growth projections are weaker, but there is acceleration, and that's welcome development.
What's your forecast for the U.S., and what are the key swing factors you're watching for that could make it weaker or stronger than expected?
So for the U.S., there is moderation in growth. We are expecting growth to be around 1.8%. Relative to last June, we actually marginally upgraded U.S. forecast by about 0.1 percentage points. We think that recent developments in terms of reduction in trade tensions should help. And we also think that the manufacturing and investment growth could pick up in light of these developments.
We will leave it there, Ayan. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Up next, going on the record, the embattled former Nissan chairman speaking out today, just 1 week after fleeing Japan. His one-on-one interview with CNBC straight ahead.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
Want TuneIn to remind you when the big NFL game is about to get underway? Be sure notifications are allowed on your phone and search NFL on the TuneIn app. Find the game you want to hear under Events and tap Notify Me. We'll let you know exactly when it's time to listen in for kickoff.
Cutting for the net, scores! On the goal line, Marshawn scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Down the middle of the 10, got to the 5, tumbles in, touchdown!
TuneIn has your NFL playoffs live all weekend. So when you're running to the store or stuck in traffic, TuneIn has you covered.
He's taking contact, and he kicks it in! Touchdown! Puts his head down, crashes and spins, and dives. Touchdown!
Search NFL and get prepared for the action.
Touchdown!
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Embattled former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn is speaking out. Ghosn holding a news conference this morning and later sat down with CNBC contributor Michelle Caruso Cabrera for a one-on-one interview. This just 1 week after his infamous escape from Japan. Michelle joins us now with more on what Ghosn had to say. Hey, Michelle.
Hey there, Wilfred. Yeah, the events here in Lebanon today with Carlos Ghosn are part of his intensive campaign to try to rehabilitate his reputation and try to convince the world of the court of public opinion that he is an innocent man now that he's not going to face trial in Japan after this incredible caper that got him out, as you mentioned, a week ago. Before my interview, as you said, he spoke with the press for 2.5 hours doing a news conference that was sometimes in English, sometimes in Arabic, sometimes in French, sometimes in Portuguese, using documents, he said, that proved his case. And when he sat down with me, I focused first on getting out of Japan, the incredible story of sneaking out, getting on a train,